Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Diego with another fantastic video from your K1 Visa Green Card channel. I am not an immigration attorney. I don't give you legal advice. I don't work for USCIS, but I do have 13 years experience processing green cards and K1 visas. I can do this in my sleep. My beautiful wife Karina is from Venezuela. She has her 2-year green card, and very soon we are going to be filing for her 10-year green card to lift the conditions of residency off of her 2-year green card. And what form are we going to use? We are going to use form I-751. That's what we're going to do. We're going to lift the conditions off of Karina's 2-year green card with form I-751. Today is March 5th, 2026. So we're going to file for her 10-year green card somewhere in May, right around that time frame. So this video is, what is the purpose of the form I-751? Okay, well, this petition is used by a conditional resident who obtained status, legal status, through marriage to request that U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, that they remove the conditions on, let's say, my wife's conditional residency. So Karina, my wife from Venezuela, she was granted conditional resident status through marriage to me, a U.S. citizen, okay? Or you could have been a lawful permanent resident. Use form I-751, petition to remove conditions on residence, to file for the removal of those conditions. Remember, you do not renew a 2-year green card. It goes away. It becomes obsolete. You have to lift the conditions off of it. Now, if you have any dependent children who acquired conditional residency status on the same day as you, Mr. Beneficiary, Miss Beneficiary, or within 90 days thereafter, then you can include their names and their alien registration numbers of these children in Part 5 of Form I-751, so that you can request that the conditions on their status be removed as well. Now, if you have dependent children who did not acquire conditional resident status on the same day as you, Mr. Beneficiary, Miss Beneficiary, or within 90 days thereafter, or if the conditional resident parent is deceased, then those dependent children must each file Form I-751 separately to have the conditions of their status removed, which is going to cost you more money, right? $750. Doing it the paper way as of March 5th, 2026. Now, if you are still married, then you file Form I-751 jointly as a couple with your spouse through whom you obtained this conditional residency status. However, you may file Form I-751 without your spouse, your American citizen sponsor, if you, 1, ended the marriage in good faith, but the spouse subsequently died. My condolences if that happens, okay? Number 2, if you ended the marriage in good faith, but the marriage was later terminated due to divorce or an annulment. It didn't work out, but you came here in good faith. You weren't trying to defraud the system. You can try to get your conditions lifted. And number 3, you ended the marriage in good faith, but you have been battered or subject to extreme cruelty by your petitioning spouse. Okay? You can still file for your 10-year green card, but you got to have overwhelming evidence to prove this. Okay? And number 4, your conditional resident parent ended the marriage in good faith, but you have been battered or subject to extreme cruelty by your parent's U.S. citizen and or lawful permanent resident spouse, okay, or by your conditional resident parent. That's for the children, okay? Number 5, the termination of your status and removal from the United States would result in extreme hardship, okay? So they're not going to send you back to the country you started from if it's going to result in extreme hardship, but you got to prove it. Now the question is, when should I file Form I-751? Well, you're going to file jointly, and if you are filing this petition jointly, with your American citizen spouse, you must file it during the 90-day period, repeat, the 90-day period immediately before your conditional residence expires. So look on your 2-year green card and look for the expiration date. You're going to file it 90 days before it expires. Number 2, you're going to file with a request that the joint filing requirement be waived or individually filed. You can do that. Okay? Now, you may file Form I-751 without your spouse if they are deceased, like I mentioned, if you are divorced, or you and your conditional resident child were subject, to battering or extreme, they had to endure extreme cruelty. But you got to back it up with evidence, police reports, etc., things like that. Now, you may file this petition at any time after you are granted conditional residency, okay, and before you are removed from the United States, if you are in one of those conditions where you've been battered. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? Now, what are the effects? What's going to happen if you do not file? Well, if this petition is not filed within the time frame I mentioned, you will automatically lose your permanent residency status 2 years from the date on which you were granted conditional status. Okay? You will then become removable from the United States, but you will be put in front of an immigration judge where you can explain why you didn't file for your 10-year green card. Okay? Special note, if your failure to file was through no fault of your own, let's suppose you're in the hospital, you couldn't file, you may file your petition late with a written explanation and request that USCIS excuse the late filing. But you got to have evidence of why. You got to prove it. Okay? So, if you fail to file before the expiration date, okay, it can be excused if you demonstrate that when you filed the petition that the delay was due to extraordinary circumstances beyond your control. You had no control over why you were filing late, and that the length of the delay was reasonable. You were in the hospital and you were a week late filing for the paperwork, something like that. Now, evidence. When you file your petition, this is for your 10-year green card, you must submit all the evidence and supporting documents, okay, which I will cover in another video. But you must include with your petition a copy of your permanent residency card, alien registration card, whatever you want to call it, and a copy of the permanent resident or alien registration cards of your conditional resident children that came in under the K2 that you are going to include in your petition on the I-751. You must submit copies of both the front and the back sides of the green cards. Okay, very important. But I'll make a video on all the evidence that you must include for your lifting the conditions off of your 2-year green card. Biometrics. You're going to have a biometric service appointment. USCIS may require you to appear for an interview or provide biometrics, which is fingerprints, a photograph, and your signature at any time to verify your identity, obtain additional information, and conduct a background and security check on you, okay? Including a check of criminal history records maintained by the Federal Bureau of Investigation before they make a decision, immigration, on your application or petition to lift the conditions off of your 2-year green card. If immigration, USCIS, if they determine that a biometric service appointment is necessary, they will send you an appointment notice with the date, the time, and the location of your appointment. Make sure you bring the appointment letter with you to the biometrics with your marriage certificate and your passport and any government issued IDs. If you are currently overseas, which wasn't going to pertain to most of you people watching the video, your notice will instruct you to contact a U.S. embassy or U.S. consulate or a USCIS office outside of the United States to schedule this appointment. All right? Now, at your biometrics appointment, you must sign an oath reaffirming that you, Mr. Beneficiary, Ms. Beneficiary, have provided, or you are going to provide, all of the authorized information in the petition. Everything in your petition is real. There's no falsehoods in there. You reviewed and understood all of the information contained in the submitted application with your petition, okay? And all of this information was complete and true and correct to your knowledge at the time of the filing for your 10-year green card. Very important, all right? Don't forget to make copies of everything, and you should submit legible photocopies of requested documents unless immigration instructs specifically that you submit an original document. If you must submit an original document, USCIS wants to see original paperwork. They can ask for this at any time during the process, by the way. You go ahead and submit the original paperwork, but don't do that unless immigration asks you for it, and they will then return the original paperwork to you after they no longer need it, or they've reviewed it and checked it and make sure there's no fraud in the petition. They're getting strict, okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And translations, if you are from a foreign country, like my beautiful wife is Karina from Venezuela, if you submit a document with your petition to lift the conditions in a foreign language, you must also submit a full English translation by a certified translator, okay? The translator must sign a certification that the English language translation is complete and accurate, and that they are competent to translate from the foreign language into English, and it must include an ATA number. I recommend using this Spanish group, a company in California, to translate your documents into English from Spanish or whatever. They don't pay me to say that, this company, but I'm just recommending them. The certification must also include their signature, printed name, the signature date, and their contact information, which is going to include an ATA number, which I repeat. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, with your 10-year green card application. This is the basic process, so you understand what to expect, what you have to go through, and so there are no surprises on your end. Don't forget, I do a live stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays at 6 p.m. Central Time. If you want to join as a member, join as a member. You get my phone number, email address, and you can call me, contact me, text me anytime you want, 7 days a week. But make sure that you text me first before you join as a member. Once you join as a member, send me a text message and say, hey Diego, I joined as a member. This is my handle in YouTube. And you can get my contact information in the members only channel videos. Go into the videos that I've made for the members only, and in there look for the contact information to Diego. Thanks for watching. See you at the next live stream, and stay patient during this entire process.